There is a lot of shitty things about growing up, but anime was never one of them. I came up at the time of the OG Sailor Moon, Pokemon, and Tenchi universe. Anime was loud, fun, and adventurous, but it was just like any other cartoon. That all changed when I was 9 and watched Spirited Away. I had no idea anime could do that, and it made me completely fall in love with Hayao Miyazaki. Just think about it. You're the same age as Chihiro, watching her do absolutely superhuman feats, facing her fears, and becoming her best self. I felt so empowered. And that continued as I embarked on my Ghibli journey. Kiki's delivery service made me so excited to be 13 and take on new responsibility. Whisper of the Heart encouraged me to take chances and just go for it with my creative future. And Howl's Moving Castle encouraged me to learn how to stand out and believe in myself at a time where I felt invisible and so insecure. As I've grown, I've lost some of that awe and wonder for the anime industry. Yes, there's standouts here and there, but it can all just come across as just shiny and loud most of the time. Plus, the community, especially if you knew the community in the mid to late 2000s, woof. I lost my love for the medium and turned my back on the community for a long time. When I finally came back to anime a few years ago, I started feverishly consuming as much as possible to make up for lost time. That's when I came across the works of Masaaki Yuasa, and it changed my life. I haven't felt this captivated or fulfilled by anime since those early Miyazaki days. The way that Masaaki Yuasa has cultivated his craft throughout his career, he's helped usher in a new golden age of anime, and this will seriously have long-lasting effects on the entire future of the industry. He has made me fall back in love with anime. He is a true visionary whose impact has and will continue to evolve the genre to new and greater heights. However brilliant he is, his mainstream recognition just hasn't been fully realized on the grander scale, and honestly, he deserves to be a household name. So, I would like to dedicate this video to him in thanks for the impact he has made on my life. Thank you, Masaaki Yuasa, for helping me fall back in love with anime. Mind Game is one of the weirdest anime I have ever seen, and I've seen a lot of weird anime. Its experimental and surrealist concepts rocketed it to fame after its 2004 release and has garnered a cult following, as it should. The main aspect that sets Mind Game apart is that it is constantly changing animation styles, sometimes even down to the minute. Between that and the absolutely batshit storyline, it is very easy to see why this movie put Masaaki Yuasa on the map. The story follows Nishi, a 20-year-old NEET, as he pursues his childhood crush and gets pulled into one of the weirdest series of events that I could not come up with even in my wildest dreams. Mind Game is truly an acid trip come to life, but to be honest, it's probably too much to watch during a trip. Believe me, I've tried. For example, some of the events that go down include literal death and reincarnation, existential limbo, a wild Yakuza goose chase, real-life Moby Dick, and time travel, as one does. It's honestly one of those movies that you need to watch a multitude of times to even try to comprehend whatever the you just watched. Mind Game is a weird, intense, and absolutely over-the-top piece of living, breathing art. I'd highly recommend making a movie night out of it with your friends so you have an audience to attempt, and I'm saying attempt, to process this absolutely revolutionary film. Kemonozume was Masaaki Yuasa's first standalone series and is a unique blend of horror, action, and romance. The story follows the generational clash between an ancient race of flesh-eating monsters called the Shokujinki and a human martial arts faction called the Kifuken. After generations upon generations of fighting, the unthinkable happens. A Kifuken man and a Shokujinki woman fall in love, and all hell breaks loose. Total and complete chaos. Behind the scenes, this was a massively important project for Yuasa, who was presented the opportunity by Masao Murayama, who is the future founder of MAPPA. Maruyama gave Yuasa full creative control, and our boy ran with it. Kemonozume was also a game-changing project, as this was the project that Yuasa met Eun-Young Choi, who he would later form Science Saru with. Similar to Mind Game, Kemonozume has a distinctly unique animation style that helps it stand on its own. By using a monster story as a cover, it's really able to dive into themes surrounding generational trauma, relationship health, self-exploration, and acceptance. Many of these themes were then echoed over a decade later through Yuasa's critically acclaimed Devilman Crybaby series. I'm sorry to say that Kemonozume was an anime that I barreled through without much thought on the first watch. I watched it during my return to anime binge, in which I watched 100 anime in a year and just really did not give it the time and space it deserved. I'm looking forward to rewatching Kemonozume in the near future and just giving myself the space to fully immerse myself in it. Kaiba is not only a revolutionary anime, but it is criminally underrated. Kaiba explores the themes of gender identity, self-discovery, and societal inequality, all wrapped up in a sci-fi space mystery. As you've seen so far, Masaaki Yuasa's animation style is wildly unique. But Kaiba introduced a new style that, contrasted to his other work, creates something truly magical. It's almost reminiscent of the animation from the 1950s series Astro Boy, while still retaining its own unique flair. The story follows Warp as they travel across the universe in search of their origin and the lost memories that were mysteriously stolen from them. In this sci-fi universe, memories are stored as information via memory chips, so that even after death, their minds can live on. This technological miracle is the solution to everlasting life, as it allows for the transfer from one body to the next. However, by this day and age, a rise of body theft in combination with memory manipulation has divided society into a new class system. The wealthy have the privilege of eternal life, while the poor are usually confined to a single body and are in constant danger of being abducted by the rich. Kaiba was highly recommended to me by friends who expressed their absolute adoration for this surrealist, gender identity affirming work of art. I am so happy that they did, because although this is a great anime, I do feel like it got massively overlooked during the 2000s. For those of y'all who've watched this, especially those in the LGBT+ community, what were your thoughts on Kaiba, and did it speak to your own journey? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. There is a total of 3 Masaaki Yuasa series that have received a 10 out of 10 for me. The Tatami Galaxy is one of them. Debuting in 2010 and adapted from the novel of the same name, the Tatami Galaxy was the final and most pivotal series that Yuasa embarked on at Madhouse Studios. I could literally dedicate an entire video essay to the Tatami Galaxy and how it perfects nearly every genre by creating a multiverse of timelines, all disguised as a slice-of-life romance. If you'd like to see that video, please let me know and I will 100% get that puppy rolling for y'all. The story follows a college student whose dream is to have a rose-colored college experience. However, these experiences are subsequently sabotaged and absolutely derailed by his peer Ozu, who is questionable at best and a possible yokai at worst. Each episode starts with the protagonist joining a school club and then fast forwards to 2 years in the future, where his entire life has completely fallen apart, all thanks to Ozu. He pleads to the gods to just give him another chance at his college life, that he'll do it right this time. And at the end of each episode, the gods rewind the clock back to his freshman year. Each episode sees him joining different clubs and exploring a plethora of life experiences. Only problem is, with an ever-expanding multiverse, there's gonna be a breaking point where he will have to face the reality of what he's created. Not only is this anime impeccably crafted with a screenplay that folds into itself spectacularly, but the artwork looks like a painting come to life and makes this series a standout in the anime industry. It seems like the industry agreed, earning Yuasa widespread acclaim and earning a plethora of awards. It was also Yuasa's first project to be broadcast nationally and streamed internationally, opening up Yuasa to worldwide recognition. The future of the Tatami Galaxy included a spiritual sequel film, Night is Short, Walk On Girl, in 2017, and a follow-up series, The Tatami Time Machine Blues, in 2022. Kick Heart came out in 2013 and was a game changer in the anime industry, as it was the first successful anime project from a major commercial anime studio, Project IG, to use crowdfunding. It is a 12-minute long short film, which is a truly wholesome slice-of-life romance about two professionals falling in love. Is there also a massive sadist-masochist component about two highly sexualized wrestlers falling in love? Well, yes! Kick Heart is a trippy, wild love story whose creativity truly got to shine through the crowdfunding aspect, which gave everyone on the team so much more creative freedom than if they'd just gone through studios. Even by Yuasa standards, the animation is really out there and has a beautifully raw element to it. After its release, Kick Heart made the festival circuit route, picking up a plethora of awards and scoring a premiere screening on Toonami. This wasn't just a major win for the dynamic duo that is Masaaki Yuasa and Eun Choi. It was the start of something much, much bigger. Enter Science Saru. While production for Kick Heart was in full swing, Eun Choi and Masaaki Yuasa teamed up together to create a new animation studio named Science Saru, which debuted in February of 2013. The name translates to science monkey, with science being self-explanatory, Saru meaning monkey, and the combination of the two acting as an intent to create based on intelligence and instinct. My favorite aspect is that the logo, which is a cute little monkey living his best life, was actually based off of Yuasa's habit of drawing self-portraits of himself as a monkey. Science Saru also helped lead the way in the anime industry in terms of hybrid animation, combining hand-drawn and digital animation. Science Saru's first projects included the episode Food Chain for the television series Adventure Time and Ping Pong the Animation. Adapted from the manga of the same name, Ping Pong the Animation debuted in 2014. It follows the story of two childhood friends as they enter into the professional world of, you guessed it, ping pong. However, this is not your standard sports anime chocked full of cliches and stretched out way too long. Clocking in at only 11 episodes, Ping Pong covers a surprising amount of ground and maps out some truly spectacular storytelling. It's also impeccably paced and showcases a more realistic take on the genre, which is incredibly refreshing. Animation-wise, Ping Pong is probably one of my favorites of Yuasa's projects. The roughness of the lines and the way they incorporate movement and motion is absolutely captivating. Its perfect imperfection plays beautifully into what the story is trying to convey. Ping Pong is honestly one of my favorite sports anime of all time. It really stands on its own in the genre, and by grounding itself in realism, it provides a much-needed breath of fresh air. I am very curious to hear what other athletes and professionals think of this anime. If you play ping pong or have watched the anime, what do you think of the show, and did it do an accurate job representing the sport? Please let me know below. I would love to hear your takes on it. In a world with Ponyo, The Little Mermaid, and H2O, it is ridiculously easy to catch mermaid fatigue. Masaaki Yuasa's next project was a breath of fresh air. Lu Over the Wall is a magical fantasy slice-of-life film that debuted in 2017 to critical acclaim. Its gorgeous animation showcases Science Sar's hybrid animation style with an absolutely stunning delivery. The beautiful marriage of hand-drawn and digital animation creates a breathtaking result that brought a new layer of depth to Yuasa's work as a whole. The story follows an angsty teenage boy stuck living in a small town who's able to find an escape through the band he creates with his friends. After exploring an island nearby, he meets a mermaid girl named Lu who transforms into a human every time he plays his music. Their friendship kicks off a series of events that shake the town to its very core and challenges them to re-examine their own personal biases. Lu Over the Wall is just a really nice feel-good film that's technically family-friendly, but not in the way that's dumbed down and insufferable to adults. Between the color palette, new digital design, and musical numbers, yes, I said musical numbers, this is just a really fun film. Plus, there's a shark with a top hat. While working on Lu Over the Wall, Masaaki Yuasa was presented with an opportunity to produce another feature film, this time a sequel to the Tatami Galaxy. Night is Short, Walk On Girl came out in 2017 and is an absolutely unhinged and magically delightful spiritual successor to its predecessor. Although it takes place at the same school in Kyoto and contains some of the same side characters, the main story revolves around a new set of characters whose stories go absolutely batshit. The entirety of the film takes place over one massively long night, contrary to the title. Revolving around two main storylines, the first being our main character who wants to have the ultimate adventure night, which pretty much just boils down to, I want to drink any and everything possible and claim my seat at the adult table. And the other main character who's just hopelessly in love with her and determined to cross paths in hopes that it will spark the beginning of a relationship. What happens over the course of the night is a sequence of absolutely unhinged events that include a drinking contest against a all-powerful godlike Yakuza creature, guerrilla musical theater full of some of the most insane theater kids I've ever seen, a cult created from loneliness that sweeps the city, and deities including the god of used books. I love this movie, and it's truly the best kind of sequel to an already perfect series. If you've seen my videos or know me personally, you know that I will always recommend Devilman Crybaby to everyone at every chance because it's my second favorite anime of all time. Devilman Crybaby is Masaaki Yuasa's most popular and acclaimed series to date. However, it's also his most divisive anime to date. It seems that half the viewers and critics labeled it a masterpiece and one of the best anime of our generation, while the other half is disgusted and disappointed by how hard Devilman Crybaby goes. To be fair, the amount of sex, violence, gore, horrific interpersonal situations, and ending go really, really hard. I personally think it's a masterpiece. The way it incorporates its themes while also making space to truly explore the LGBT+ elements and reinterpret its more anti-war stance as a metaphor for bigotry was beautifully done. I'm also a massive fan of just how nihilistic and destructive it gets. Based off of the popular 1970s anime and manga series Devilman, Devilman Crybaby is simultaneously the most faithful adaptation of the source material while also transforming and modernizing it in a truly spectacular fashion. In addition, Devilman was one of Masaaki Yuasa's favorite manga growing up, one he always wanted to adapt but never dreamed he'd get the opportunity to. His passion truly shows in the groundbreaking adaptation Devilman Crybaby transformed into. I had to include this truly infamous moment from the original anime, which makes me laugh every single time.
Oh, of course, it's my old friend Rio. How the hell have you been keeping then?
Although I do recommend this one to everyone, I do recognize the massive split of viewers. Half of y'all taking this recommendation will think it's a masterpiece, and the other half will unsubscribe. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. Let me know in the comments below which route you went and if you want to yell at me, because honestly, I will take full responsibility for that. Ride Your Wave came out in 2019 and was Masaaki Yuasa's second feature film to be based on an original story. I'm very hesitant to talk about the plot because it's a journey that's best experienced going into blind, because that process will shape your thoughts on the film's trajectory. The basic elements I can tell you about is that it's a romance about two surfers whose relationship has a ridiculous amount of incredibly high highs and some truly devastating lows. The main themes are all about learning how to trust yourself, coming to terms with self-confidence issues, and learning to push through in order to accept and better yourself. It's an aesthetically stunning film and probably one of Science Saru's most impressive animation projects to date. Ride Your Wave is definitely a very stylized film when it comes to animation, but also genre. This definitely isn't the easiest of films to watch, but the payoff is truly beautiful. My brother first got me hooked on Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken when he showed me the opening, which is an aesthetically psychedelic fever dream set to some very happy ska. After I watched the first episode, I was absolutely hooked. Not because it was just an amazing and gorgeously crafted world, but because it spoke to my artistic soul. The anime debuted in 2020, adapting its source material from the manga of the same name. It follows a gaggle of neurodivergent art and anime nerds as they work together to make their first anime and in the process, find their community and voice. They push each other to not only grow artistically, but also personally. It is an anime by anime lovers for anime lovers and goes through every component and steps it takes to bring our favorite anime to life, spanning from the original storyboarding, to finding the right sound design, to figuring out how to bring in an audience for premieres, and even overcoming the social anxiety hell of trying to promote the work and deciding to put the personality higher front and center. It is an animation love letter that Yuasa and the staff of Science Saru created, which also encouraged them to share their own experiences creating anime. Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken was a massive hit and swept a plethora of awards, not only in Japan but internationally. It's honestly one of my favorite anime of all time, and came to me at a time where I felt hopelessly trapped in my life and needed a reminder that I do have the ability to survive the unbearably difficult times and find happiness again. For my artist and creative fam out there who have seen this, how did this anime speak to you, and did it also heal a little part of your creative soul? I love this anime. And alongside Devilman Crybaby, I will always recommend this one to everyone. Also, this is a really good one to watch after Devilman Crybaby when you need to heal, all that. Alongside Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, 2020 also saw the release of the disaster anime, Japan Sinks 2020. Now, being the good Kansas kid that I am, I love disaster content. Whether it's videos of tornadoes or massively unhinged blockbusters like 2012, it is one of my all-time favorite genres. Plus, it's one of the genres that I connect with my dad the most to. So when I first started watching Japan Sinks 2020, I immediately knew that I needed to bring him into the mix. So, despite living 400 plus miles away from each other, we started watching the anime together. The story follows a group of survivors after the impossible happens to Japan. A series of volcanic eruptions starts a catastrophic sequence of events leading to Japan starting to sink into the ocean. This anime has every kind of disaster, which made my twisted little soul so happy. Being a disaster series, Japan Sings 2020 is not an easy watch and gets really, really intense and depressing at times. It was also a relatively divisive anime in Japan for its themes of condemnation of Japanese nationalism. However, it was also heavily praised for its inclusiveness and multiculturalism. Despite the harder and depressing moments, this was a really fun anime to watch with my dad. We would watch an episode or two and then call each other to discuss every aspect. It was a really fun experience and one I would highly recommend experiencing for yourself. In 2021, Science Sorrow released the Heike story, which is an animated retelling of the Heike tales, aka one of the most important pieces of medieval Japanese literature. It is a truly spectacular show, which I would highly recommend. Inu-Oh was released later that year and takes place a few hundred years after the events of the Heike story. The story follows a musician who comes across a deformed outcast with a truly spectacular voice. When the two of them team up, wild and completely unhinged things start to take place. They pretty much just start putting on rock concerts, and the more they perform, the more they transform. I don't want to say too much more because this is truly a film you need to experience in your own time. The music is absolutely fantastic, and I still listen to some of the tracks on a regular basis. Inu-Oh, the titular character, is voiced by none other than Avu-chan from Queen Bee, who is, in my humble opinion, one of the greatest vocalists of our generation. You probably know them from their most recent projects, including performing the ending themes for Oshinoko, Chainsaw Man, specifically episode 11, as well as the intros for Dororo and Undead Unluck. Their vocal range and ability to shift vocal styles at the drop of a hat with immaculate control inspires me to up my own game as a musician. This is honestly one of my favorite movies to come out in the last few years. It also received a worldwide theatrical release, swept awards in the festival season, and was even nominated for a Golden Globe. Inu-Oh is the perfect representation of Masaaki Yuasa's prowess and artistry. It's genreless, absolutely breathtaking, and unlike anything I've ever seen before. In 2020, Masaaki Yuasa decided to step down as president and CEO of Science Saru. He announced that he needed a break from directing after 7 years of non-stop continuous work. In his stead, his co-founder Eun-Young Choi stepped into the role of CEO and has run the company ever since. Despite stepping down, Yuasa stayed on to complete his final projects, including Inu-Oh, and will continue his involvement as a creator in the future. Masaaki Yuasa is a true visionary, whose works span a plethora of genres to cultivate new and fresh ideas into the anime industry. In this industry that focuses on speed and quantity, Masaaki Yuasa has made a stand through his individual work and Science Saru for better work-life balance and treatment of animators. He has also made his voice heard advocating for the preservation of traditional animation instead of completely switching over to digital, and pushing the boundaries for what hybrid animation can accomplish. Although I have love for all of his work, the projects that have an eternal special place in my heart are Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, Devilman Crybaby, Inu-Oh, and the Tatami Galaxy. My hope for you, the audience, is that one of these works mentioned today will spark an interest and start you on your own journey. Because at the end of the day, the greatest thing that Masaaki Yuasa does is make the space for all of us to truly feel seen.